A lot of people thought these guys should have been fighting a lot earlier on. The fight definitely made a lot of sense. I mean, Nate Diaz and Jake Paul, you have two villains that both people want to see the other person lose for different reasons, but
Mm.
nothing but respect for Nate Diaz, especially everything he did his MMA career. I knew he was going to go all 10 rounds because he's not really a guy that's been knocked out before. He has been
Right.
in MMA, but like with his style of like he kind of gets better as the fight goes on. And then Jake Paul, he hasn't really shown he can like cleanly knock out any like skilled boxers yet,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like Nate Robinson, but like Tyrone Woodley, more just knocked down. Anderson Silva, I mean, good God, how old was he? And then Nate
Right.
Diaz, so like he goes the whole fight. I thought it was really entertaining. I thought it was a perfect matchup. Jake calls for a rematch. Would you want to see a rematch of this fight in the future? And then what are your thoughts on Jake Paul's overall direction right now with his career?
I like that one thing I like is that when he started, he was doing the Ben Askren's of the world, the Nate Robinsons of the world. And like what he's done, this is his fifth fight, right? Or his sixth fight. His sixth fight.
Actually 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So he at this point, every single fight and every single opponent that he's facing is getting better and better in competitions. He had the Nate Diaz of the world. And then his fight before was I'm forgetting his name.
Tommy Fury.
Tommy Fury. Yeah, he had Tommy Fury. And so like he's getting harder competition. Even Anderson Silva, iconic boxer or MMA fighter.
Iconic MMA boxer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of that extent. So like he's getting these people. Granted, Anderson Silva is like probably 10 years out of his prime, maybe 15. But he's getting harder competition and he's competing with them well. I mean, the Nate Diaz fight, he did win the fight. They were exchanging blows and he deserves his respect. We talked about it when they fought Tommy Fury. Like he deserves his respect. He's definitely like a certified boxer. I know a lot of people still think of him as whether it's a Disney kid or just like a TikTok punk, but that's not what he is anymore. And he's a bona fide boxer. He wants to be a world champion by 2026. If he fights solid competition, I think he can get there at some point.
Yeah, I think he can get there at some point. I don't think he can be like a boxing champion of the world, and he's going to fall short of that just with how much trouble Nate Diaz gave him. But I think Jake's real problem is this. He has the resources to outcompete anyone who's kind of coming into the sport of boxing, and no one really wants to see him beat up no-name boxers that are kind of at his level, but could help him gain experience in the sport. So he kind of has to fight MMA fighters that are good at boxing and also have the star power and are comfortable in the ring. So they're not as technically sound as someone who's just training boxing with the weight of the gloves are different. You can throw kicks, you can grapple more. You saw Nate Diaz put him in a chokehold and then raise his gloves up in the middle of the fight. Kind of like a homage, like if this was a real fight, I would win. So I think his like problem is like I want to fight people at my skill set, but I also have to make sure it's marketed enough where I'm actually getting the most money I can. So I think he still has a few more years of repetition in the gym from that. And then he can probably be like top 15, 20 boxers in the world. I think if he got Canelo, it would have to be Canelo pretty far out of his prime. And he's also a lot bigger than some of the guys he's challenging. Typically, he'll make people like come up to his weight or meet him somewhere in the middle. So I think that's kind of his dilemma right now is how does he get good enough at boxing by facing people who box by trade, but also get the marketing dollars and money there. And then when do people just get bored of these fights? Because a lot of people are like, yeah, I didn't watch the fight, but he still did sell out an entire arena. And then Nate Diaz got a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it's definitely reached its peak. I think that the interest will start to decline slowly. That is an interesting dilemma because at this point, I don't really know who would be available for him to fight at this point. Like, you need somebody who's high profile because he's looking to chase the money.
Yeah.
He can't really fight like a Conor McGregor.
He should. I just want to see him knock out Conor.
But he also, like, there's also been rumors about him and Andrew Tate, how that would go.
That would be the biggest fight ever.
That'd be the biggest fight ever, but I don't know if he wins that fight. That'd be a big.
Yeah.
That I'd like to think Andrew Tate is more skilled as a boxer at this point.
Yeah,
but there's like he's got some really tough choices to make moving forward if he wants to become the world champion.
Yeah, no, Andrew Tate is definitely a much smarter fighter. He has a lot more experience in the ring. Tristan's talked about how he thinks like Andrew like struggles with whether retiring was the right decision for him. Like, could I have gotten 5, 6 or more world titles? So it's like I'm not sure how much the difference boxing and MMA will be, but he's definitely a much better boxer than these guys. And I think Andrew Tate was always a fighter who didn't get hit. His brother was more the brawler, where if you hit me 6 times with haymakers, I'll hit you 7 times and then finish you off, where he's more of like a Floyd Mayweather type. And I think his height would definitely be an issue, especially with what I mentioned before, with Jake is mostly picking fighters that are bigger than him. But I mean, that would probably be the biggest fight he could do. Imagine if they did it in Bucharest, because he's off of house arrest now. So they technically could do it in Bucharest if they could book the event.
That would be massive.
Yeah.
And massive doesn't even like Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor was huge, versus Pacquiao was also huge.
Yeah.
This could be bigger.
It would be the peak of internet boxing, and I would hope the actual boxer could win, but he hasn't gotten in the ring in a while. And he hopped on a stream with Aiden Ross recently, and they were talking about sparring with each other. And then they said basically, hey, come to Romania. We can spar. If we like the footage, we'll talk about doing the fight, and then we may release it one day. So they're still interested.
Yeah. So now it's like, do you think he'll be a champion at some point? That being Jake Paul.
No.
Yeah.
I would encourage him to pursue that, and definitely the best thing he can do. And I admire the fact that he wants to pursue being a champion, but like fighting Canelo Alvarez in his prime, he would get destroyed. And the Nate Diaz lasted 10 rounds. You really got to be knocking these guys out. Do I think Tommy Fury's going to be a champion boxer someday? Not really. And he beat Jake Paul, and you saw the difference of when he was fighting an actual boxer.
Yeah. So do you think he should fight more legitimate boxers to gain more credibility, or maybe start beating up on some more stable competition?
I think he should do the marketing thing and then get in the ring with Canelo, where he can market himself to that point where the bag will be worth it for Canelo. But I think Canelo will kind of just wash him.